Hey everyone, welcome back to the Commitment to Growth podcast. This is your host, Mariana, speaking, and thank you for coming back to tune in to another episode of the show. Oh, it's so lovely to be here as always. Thank you for tuning in. If you're new, welcome, and if you're not new, welcome back. If you're new, my name is Mariana. I am the host of the show, and I just want to say thank you for taking the time out of your day to be here today. It's so lovely to share the space with you and to just get to come here and talk about things that I'm passionate about and hopefully things that you're passionate about too. Because odds are that if you clicked on the title of this episode, it is because it caught your eye, and I'm hoping that I can catch your ear the rest of the episode as we spend this time together. So I hope you're well, whatever time of day this audio happens to find you at. I'm excited. I mean, I get excited before every episode, but today's episode is a little bit different. Something that I kind of told myself that I wanted to try a little bit more in on this platform in the next couple months was just to kind of show up here more unrehearsed and just off the top of my head, more conversational. As much as I love doing my research ahead of these episodes and planning them and having this outline as I do with many of my solo episodes at least, there's something to be said about, I think, the beauty of the present and just working with what you have now and being more in the moment, I guess, and sharing that wholeness and that presence with other people. So I've been in this just like creative loop the last couple weeks. This creative, I don't want to call it a rut because I'm not stuck, but it's just this this endless creative supply that I feel like I is ignited in me right now. And because of that, my head has just been everywhere the last couple weeks except for academics. I've been spending so much time writing. I've been diving into poetry. If you've been seeing on my stories, you'll see that been writing a lot of articles on my Medium page and on my website blog. You can find them all there. They're in the description below too if you want to check them out. Some fitness slash self-improvement and healing articles. So I've just been going nonstop and just wanting to get the creative juices flowing and just express them in any way I can. And one of the byproducts of that was this topic that I was really thinking a lot about today and this week, as I think that I've been pouring my creative energy out and finding myself through the products of what has manifested itself, what has come out when I've done the intentional work to do something creative. So I was thinking about this and I was like, why the heck not just sit here and have this conversation that I think is super, super important and not talked about enough. So here we are. I invite you to just sit with me for the next couple minutes. It's not going to be long. We're just going to chat. We're going to bounce some ideas back and forth, hopefully, stimulate some of your own thinking that you can apply to your daily life as well. And I'm excited for us to dive in, grab a cup of tea, coffee, if you're feeling really jazzy, maybe some wine. But we're going to get right into it today. So without further ado, let's do that. Beforehand, though, I do want to take a second to acknowledge that I am situated on the land of the Lekwungen speaking peoples, specifically the Sartlip, Sayout, Saikum, Malahat, and Pakwachin nations, as I am recording this episode. And I acknowledge that I am a settler here, that I directly privilege from the land in countless, countless ways every single day. I acknowledge the privilege that comes with being a settler and an uninvited one at that. And because of the privileges that my status as a settler holds, I acknowledge the colonialism that still is so present in our culture today, in my own community, in my own upbringing, and my own beliefs. And I look forward to continuing to learn about how I can dissect colonialism and capitalist ideals from my ways of walking through life, and to hopefully stimulate you to reflect on how you can do that as well to better support the Indigenous communities that still live among us. All right, so today we are talking about personal growth overload. What do I mean by this? So, I think that in the last maybe 10 or 12 years, maybe it's even further back. I feel like I haven't been on this earth for that long. But um, there's been this big uprise in the world of self help and self improvement with the uprise of life coaching becoming a profession and therapists having more accessibility to promote their services and introduce psychological concepts in the media through things like TikTok and Instagram. The reach is just so fantastic nowadays. However, I think that it has also created this culture of hustling that is independent from the hustle culture that we see that is all about, working hard and succeeding and, kind of defining your status and your worth by the amount of things that you produce. It's this different hustle culture of you need to constantly be a self improvement project. You constantly need to be working on yourself. You constantly need to be reading articles and watching videos and listening to podcasts that are about how to become a better person, how to heal, how to grow, etc. Now, I think it's amazing. I think that the accessibility that we have to people who are so willing to sit behind microphones and share their stories of growth and how they've overcome adversity and how they are healing and helping others do that is incredible. It's unlike anything our society has ever seen. When have we had such vast accessibility to this mass information that would, in other circumstances, be pricey or only accessible by means of, going to a live event or buying a CD or something, however people got their self-improvement information back in the day. Um, it's amazing. And of course, as a podcast host who talks about self-improvement, I don't want to discourage it because your presence here is so appreciated. There's a reason why I love this and I treasure what I do so much. But to a degree, we have to acknowledge and I think stop to recognize and reflect on how much time we're actually spending on the learning how to self improve rather than the actual self improvement itself. What I mean by this is that you can spend hours and hours and hours listening to different podcast episodes, listening to audiobooks, reading different books, reading articles, talking with your friends. But at what point are you actually stopping to digest the information rather than just moving from one project, one book, one podcast to another? Takes a lot more work to apply the information and to do the work rather than to just be passively taking it and maybe regurgitating in conversations or giving it as advice to your friends, right? I think that is the improvement in self-improvement. It's not just about the information that you are taking in, which has its own value, but what value are you giving to that information? How are you actually taking it and applying it to your journey of self-improvement and self-discovery? And it's this tough balance because I think that for me personally, I find such a dopamine hit from just reading something that is so filled with substance and so filled with insight, and there's just this like oof of like, wow, this person just hit it on the head, hit the nail on the head, not hit the hammer on the head, of like gold nuggets of information and action and stuff. But it's constantly absorbing without the actual act of implementing. that leaves us stuck and often makes us feel like we are not growing. I'm sure that many of you have experienced this, and it's hard when there's information that is constantly being thrown at us. It's hard when different people are giving us different, you know, tips on how they found happiness and how they found success and how they've, found their healing and everything. But you are not a constant self improvement project. And I think that we need to have so much more grace in taking the time to absorb where we are at a given time. Say you listen to a podcast episode, you get through a book, take some time to reflect on the tidbits of information from those resources that actually resonated with you, that actually struck something in you that you actually want to implement into your life, not because you see the results and the promised outcomes that this person told you as what you want to feel, what you want to achieve, but because implementing those things is going to get you closer to the vision of you that you have for your future. Because there's also something to be said about having this constant overload and never actually taking the time and space to ask ourselves, you know, does this person's views and perspectives and tidbits of advice actually fit with my life philosophy, my beliefs, my values? Or am I just implementing them? Am I just regurgitating them because A, it sounds like they have a pretty good life and maybe that'll guarantee me a better life too? Or B, because we are not taking the conscious time and effort to actually sit with ourselves and go inside ourselves and ask ourselves, what resonates with me? What worldview do I actually want to build for myself? How am I taking people's advice and integrating it into what I believe to be true and what I believe to be important and what I believe to be a priority, rather than just regurgitating them and then now you are living your life based off of the formulas of other people. I think we've stopped thinking for ourselves when there's all this information being thrown at us constantly at a given time on social media, on the internet, wherever you go, there's always, here's this three-step formula for happiness and three-step formula to healing your inner child and whatever. But when can we say that we take the time to ask ourselves what is true and beautiful to me, irrespective of what anybody else is saying? And so if you're somebody who has the habit, just like me, of being super dialed when it comes into taking in information and always being on to the next book and the next podcast and the next radio interview to, just keep absorbing and absorbing more, I would encourage you to ease off of it for a little bit and just sit with what you know now and ask yourself why certain tidbits have resonated with you. What those things that resonated with you are bringing up about your internal experience or who you actually are. How can you build off of the ideas that you are hearing and ingesting in your research, in your absorption of these materials, to build your own philosophy and your own belief system and your own set of values that are true and authentic, most importantly, to you? And do you actually feel like you are living your life in the present moment, or are you always looking to be better and be the next version of you and to always get a step closer to your future self? There's so much grace in being a work in progress. And of course, I mean, we're all a work in progress at 24/7, but it's amazing that you have the drive to be better. And it's amazing that you acknowledge the potential that you have yet to uncover, and that the only way you'll reach that potential is by doing the work to get to know yourself, to build habits, to build discipline. However, are you taking the time to sit with the version of you that you are right now at a given moment? And are you giving the current version of yourself grace for being who they are in that moment? I think that when we don't stop to sit with ourselves and to just accept certain seasons of life, I think that's another aspect to it, right? When we have a difficult season of life, we're always looking to, you know, what practices will help us fix this emotion that we're feeling, or what practices will keep us more motivated, and what practices will um, get us off our feet. And again, working towards self improvement and self discovery. It's when you start perceiving that healing and the inner work and self improvement is to be a better person for society, that then it's not self improvement that is personal to you and personal to your journey here on earth. It is self improvement that you're trying to do to appease society's idea of what a perfect person is, or what a person that is practicing self improvement is. I think something that I've realized a lot in the last few months too, going through my own journey of inner work, and even in my creative outlets, I feel that, so I find myself so often thinking, well, I need to do this practice because it's going to enhance my relationships. I need to do this. Um, I want to write this poetry so I can send it to my friend, or my gosh, somebody's going to see my journal one of these days. So I better make sure the grammar is going to make sure the sentence structure is good, all of that. We spend so much of our time doing things perceiving that other people are going to have access to them, when our healing journey and our inner work journey and our journey of personal development is for us and should be for us, because we are excited about who we are underneath who society has told us to be. Of course, healing and doing things like therapy and meditation are going to enhance your life by helping you address things like trauma, helping you address things like negative thought patterns, negative habit patterns. If you learn to regulate your nervous system, of course you're going to show up better in life. And of course, that is a wonderful incentive to have consistent practices where you visit the wounded parts of you and visit the parts of you that you want to ameliorate, to have a life where you can be more autonomous over yourself rather than your mind calling the shots and your mind resistance calling the shots. However, it's when you shame or suppress those parts of you because they are not at the level that you expect them to be at a given time, that now you are invalidating the current version of yourself, and you had to work to get where you are now. And there is grace in that, and there is a lot of acknowledging that should go into that. So, to summarize all of that, what I'm trying to say, and the idea that I really, really want you to get from this discussion, is that you are not a constant self improvement project. And the more time that you spend having a very conscious balance between the work that you're putting in to enhance who you are and the time that you're taking to embrace the current version of yourself that you are, and honoring that version of yourself and honoring what you know now, while still being excited about what you have yet to discover and what you have yet to learn, is when you achieve intrinsic joy for the self-improvement process rather than doing it to hustle and to doing it to always be the next version of yourself that society is telling you that you can be, rather than consulting with yourself first about what version you need to be to achieve the life that is most authentic to you. I would encourage you to take a little self-improvement detox the next time that you are done a book or done a podcast episode, maybe after this podcast episode. Don't forget about me though, because I really like you being here, and there's a reason why we're all here, because you all come and listen to my voice. So I'm not discrediting it. I'm not discrediting self-help. But I am just saying that I think we could all do with some time to detox from it and to consult with ourselves first instead of turning to others when we want advice on how to grow and how to improve ourselves. Because at the end of the day, who knows us better than ourselves? And the answer, 9 times out of 10, if you sit enough to listen and if you sit long enough to ask yourself the question, the answer on the next thing that you should do to feel better about yourself, to improve, to eliminate those negative thought patterns, to get over that relationship, to heal, and to come home to yourself is always within you. But we are being told to go out into the masses and intake all this mass information from other people that we don't stop to listen anymore. And because of that, as a byproduct, we don't have our own worldview. We, if somebody came and asked you today, what is your life philosophy? Irrespective of and devoid of the philosophies of others that you have picked up through all of your learning, what would you have to say? And if you found yourself regurgitating things that you heard elsewhere, do you actually believe in those things, or are you simply regurgitating them and implementing them into your day because of the testimony that that person's success or happiness is saying, rather than your own conscious judgment that is rooted in integrity about what is true to you? So that was tonight's gold nugget. It is literally like 9:24 p.m. on a Thursday as I am recording this, and I can't think of a better way to spend a Thursday night. I don't have school tomorrow's. Yay. So I wanted to sit here and just record this because my mind was buzzing and I was like, there's no way I'm going to go to sleep if I don't just put this out into the world. So thank you for sitting with me today. I hope this prompted some thought in you. I hope that you will consider taking a little bit of a self-improvement detox after this conversation to, again, have some time to sit with yourself and ask yourself, who you are in the midst of all the self-improvement madness, and what do you actually think that you need to do to enhance your personal growth, rather than what do you think you need to do based on what other people are telling you to do. Thank you so much again for tuning in, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this episode. It was a short one. It was unrehearsed. I loved it. I hope you enjoyed it too. I hope you sat with me and just were as present as I was, and I could not have think of a better way to have spent my Thursday evening. So with that all being said, thank you again for tuning in. If you aren't following the podcast on Instagram and Facebook already, you definitely should. It's at Commitment to Growth podcast. You can get all the updates on latest podcast episodes and guest interviews and what's going on the podcast on there. Remember to follow the podcast's large official page at Commitment to Growth, where I post all the articles, all the podcast episodes, also the fitness side of my business, where we're branching fitness and self-improvement to make a holistic health platform. So make sure you check that out as well. And if you're interested in being a guest, or you have suggestions for the podcast, or you want to send over a message, don't hesitate. You can DM me on Instagram or Facebook, or you can shoot me an email. It's commitmenttogrowthpod@gmail.com. And I think that is everything on my list for today. Yes, it is. Like I said, thank you so much for being here. You are so, so appreciated, and I cannot wait to see you in the next episode.